live. Alright, well, I believe we are live. Hopefully the title of this will actually have updated correctly. It seems like it has. Alright, good evening everyone. I am Brian from WVGamers. Tonight we're going to be talking about Paper Tales. This is actually a game I was supposed to be teaching right now, but unfortunately I didn't have anybody sign up for my event on the Envoy Gateway. So instead of just kind of sitting around and saying, well, that's too bad, I decided, well, I'm still going to teach the game anyways. Instead, I'm just going to stream it to everybody so they can have an idea of what this game is like, in case you would like to play it in one of the other demos I'm going to be showing of this game later this month. So, in Paper Tales, you are basically rewriting history in your favor. And essentially, we're going to be playing over 4 different turns that are each going to have different phases. And those different phases are going to allow you to recruit people, go to war, build up your kingdom, and finally have your heroes age and pass away potentially. So, let's go ahead and look at what we have here. Alright, so this is the components of the game, and this is on Tabletop Simulator, so I'll explain some of the nuances with this, but for the most part, this is how the game is in physical form, except some of the mats and stuff, of course. So, here is where we're going to be tracking our points, our legend points that you're going to earn throughout the game. You're primarily going to be earning legend points through wars that you're going to wage with the players to your neighboring players, but also you're going to earn them through certain cards and any of the buildings that you are able to construct over the course of the game. And this is going to be our little tracker that's going to keep track of which round we're in. And like I said, we're going to play over 4 total turns or rounds. And whoever has the most legend points after all 4 rounds is going to be the winner. In front of each player, you're going to have this little section. Now, I'm going to explain a couple of the things. I'm going to explain first just what's the actual game piece, and then a couple of the little things that's been set up for the digital form. So, each player is going to start with 3 coins. Coins are going to be used to pay for, basically pay your staff, your heroes. You're going to have a set of 5 cards. These building cards are all the same among all players, and you're going to have the ability to build these in these spots here. And we'll talk about building a little bit later and what these cards, what they provide you. And then down here is a little player reference. If you play this version, you'll want to hover over it, hit L, and unlock it so then you can flip both sides. Really, this is the most important side of the card, but there are some notes over here that you may want to know, especially your first time playing. So now we're going to talk about the tabletop simulator pieces they've tossed in. So this is where you're going to be placing down your different buildings as you build them, and these coins will just are reminders of how much it costs to build them, in addition to other stuff. Out here is where you're going to be placing your cards that you're collecting over the different turns. These are your hero cards, essentially. And in your front line, you're going to be able to put 2 people, and your people in the front line are going to be able to go and fight in wars for you. So their strength is used for your war total. And the back is mostly utilized for their abilities. Now, there are some of the hero cards that provide the ability to fire from the back line, such as archers, and I think there's a wizard as well. Now, you'll see that there's another spot up here that has a little 2. What that means is once you get to build your second level of one of your buildings, you're then going to have 3 frontline spots. But we'll talk more about how you get that, but I'm just saying that now because it's something I always forget when I teach this game. And then you're going to notice this little area here. So this is a drafting game. So what's going to happen is all players are going to be handed 5 cards at the beginning of each turn. They're going to choose one to keep, and they're going to place it down in here. And this little area in Tabletop Simulator basically is hidden from all other players. So if I put something in here, let's see. Okay, so I am the white player currently. So I put that in there and I can't see it. But if I put this in my area, I'm able to see it. So it's just a little hidden area so then other players can't see what you're doing. Okay, so that's all this is. So it'll be a place that you're going to put cards down so then people don't think that you're just keeping cards in between rounds and swapping them. And that's basically everything that's going to be in front of the player. And this is going to be the money that you're going to be able to earn. And these are little age tokens. So I mentioned at the end of a turn, or round, whatever you want to call it, your heroes are going to age. And you'll put these tokens on there. And we'll explain how that works as we walk through each of the steps. All right, and I believe that's the bulk of the components. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over a few of these cards. And like I said, at the beginning of each round, all players will receive 5 of these cards, and then they would keep 1 of them. Okay, so we're just going to look at a few of these cards and see what exactly these cards offer us. So the breakdown of what these cards are is in the top of the middle. That's basically telling you what the name of the card is. The upper left is how much it costs when you utilize these cards. So when we get to one of the steps, you'll be paying this cost. So this one's free. This one's 1, 1, 0, 1. And there are going to be some in here that I think are up to 3, maybe even 4. The symbol in the upper right tells you how many of these cards there are. So this is telling you that there are 3 cards of the farmer type in this deck. There's only 1 necromancer and then 2 of the hunters. So that just tells you what the breakdown is. This little shield icon is going to tell you how much power they provide to you in war. So basically, higher is better, of course, but you're going to have to factor other things about each of the cards in when you select them other than just their ability in war. If you have a brown area like this, this is basically the thing that it's going to produce for you. So it'll provide you basically perks during one of the phases. So this would give you meat during one of the phases of the game. Sort of like this one would give you meat if it's in the front line. Okay. If you have text down here that is in this little whitish area, there's a lot of symbols in this one. But that's probably the simplest one I have out here. Well, maybe the Grand Architect. This basically is the symbol of the second phase in a turn. So this is saying that this ability will occur during the second phase. The flip is basically telling you when you place the card down is when this ability triggers. So if you go down here and look, during the 5th phase, which is the building phase, this is basically telling you you'd pay 1 money instead of 1 of the resources. So that's just basically what it's providing. I'm trying to remember if there's any other, looking at the manual, see if there's anything else that would come up on them. No, that's all of the things that would come up. So pull these down here. If I'd stop shaking the cards around. And what you would do is these would be in your hand. So I'm not going to put them in my hand just because I'll probably get weird on the screen. But I would pick one of these cards. Let's say I want the Grand Architect. I'd put it into. Let's go over to my area so I don't have to change player colors. It'd go here. Other players would not see that, and then I would pass these face down to the person to my. You'd go clockwise. So whoever's clockwise from you is who would get them in this round. The same way in the 3rd round. In the 2nd and 4th round, you'll send your cards counterclockwise. So it just changes the direction of the draft. So you would hand those all out and be good. So now that I've talked about that, and let's go ahead and talk about the actual 6 phases of a round. Okay, so the first is the recruitment. That's where I was just explaining how you would actually take the cards, draft 1 into your hand, and pass the remaining ones to the next player. Once all of the cards have been drafted, basically once everybody receives 1 card from their neighboring player, the draft is over, and then they should have 5 cards, unless they happen to keep one from the previous round. We'll talk about that. Deployment, this is where you're going to secretly decide where you're going to be placing your unit. So let's say these are the cards I decided to take. What I would do is I would decide which order I want them over here. So the knight is clearly really good, so I'd want him in the front. And the hunter, if it's in the front, it gives you meat, so let's do that. I'm going to take a farmer, and I'm going to try it for the Grand Architect. Now, this is probably not going to work because the cost. All players are going to do this. This one card will still be in their hand. And then, once everybody's ready, you'll flip them over. Okay, actually, I did pay. I am going to be able to pay for all these. During this phase, once you've revealed all the cards that you're going to have, you're going to then pay for those cards. So you'll see that the knight is 1, 0, 2, or 2 after that, and then 0. So you need to pay out a total of 2 coins out here to be able to recruit these. And then those will be in your group. Now, you're able to keep 1 card in your hand to go over to the next round. So in the first phase, you're good. You can keep this in your hand just like that. All right. And so that is your deployment. War is a very simple little phase of the game where you're going to look at all the attack totals or strength totals that you have in your people. So neither of these two support the war effort while on the back line. They don't have an ability that says that. However, you have 6 total up here. Now, what you'll do is you'll look at your neighbor on both sides, and you're going to basically wage war with both of them. So if the person on this side has, let's say, 3, you win against them, you'll get 3 points on this track. I'm just going to act like I'm purple. Let's fix that since purple is right beside me. All right. So I would get 3 points for winning that war. Now, the person on this side, let's say they actually tie me with 6. Because we're tied, we are actually going to share the victory, and we're both going to get 6. So that's red player. So each player to get 3. I'm sorry. So that would put them at 3, me at 6, because I won both of the wars that I was in. And that is war. Income. This is where you're going to actually earn money. So I would earn 2 money from the bank plus 1 for each ability that comes from a phase 4 ability. Now, I mentioned it earlier that some of the cards will have these little symbols on them, and if you have a card that has any of those 6 symbols, they may have an ability that will trigger during those phases. So what we're looking at here is for any symbols like this on a card. So I'm going to look at the income. I do not have any of those, so that will not trigger for me. Then, so I would go ahead and get my 2. And yeah, nothing else. Okay, so that's the income. And then the construction phase, this is where these little buildings are going to come into play. So you have 3 ways that you can build during the construction phase. And you can simply not if you could skip this entirely if you don't want to build. So there are 2 sides to each of these cards, a level 2 and a level 1. Level 1 is going to provide you this ability as shown here on the left side. And this is actually going to give you an ability during the phase 4 income. So this says if you build this, you'll get 1 money for each meat that you have in your kingdom. So this actually produces you a meat, and this would produce you a meat since it's in the front. So during this phase, during the income phase, you would actually get 2 gold because you have 2 characters with meat on their cards. So this is a good one to build. Now to build this, you just have to pay the 1 meat cost, assuming it's your first building built. So if I wanted to, I could spend. I just need to make sure I have a meat. I have a meat, so I can build this. Sweet, simple as that. Now, what if I really, really wanted this second ability up here? The second ability is during the war, you get 1 legend point for each meat in your kingdom. So if I had the extra money or extra resources to pay for this, I could actually upgrade it. I could buy it right off the bat straight to level 2, but I have to pay the level 1 cost and the level 2 cost. So in this case, to do that, I would have to have 2 meat and 1 wood. Now I do have the 2 meat, but I don't have anything in my kingdom that produces wood. So in this case, I would not be able to do the level 2 purchase straight away. But I could build the first one and get its perk. So this iconology on here, this is just telling you which level building it is. So you'll notice it's 1, and now it's 2. The upper right is going to tell you if you build this building, these are the points that you're going to get at the end of the game. So if you have this as a level 1, you're going to get 1 legend point. If you have it as a level 2, you're going to get 3 legend points. And then the abilities as I explained them. Now let's say it's a future turn. You're only able to build once. So let's say it's a future turn. It's round 2, and I have this here. If I had the wood and the meat that's shown here, I could go ahead and upgrade this tavern. I still do not, so I won't be able to do that. But what I can do is I can go and look at these other buildings that I have and see if any of them I could build. Unfortunately, they all look like they need wood. So we're going to act like I have wood for the purposes of this now. So let's say I want to build this barracks and I have the 1 wood needed. I would need to have the wood on a character. It's not like you have to discard it. You just have to have it. I could do that, but I also have to pay this 2 cost. That's why this little reminder here with these coins. So as you place your buildings, you have to pay the cost to fill that slot. So you're basically buying extra land. So for this, I'd have to pay the 2 gold. We'll act like I have the lumber resource that I need for that, and we're good. Now, if at any point you get one of these leveled up to 2, remember you'll be able to utilize this other space over here, and you'll be able to have 5 total cards out. And that's shown by this little symbol here. You'll see that it has a little space of 5 cards. And also on this the tabletop simulator, it has this as a reminder as well. Alright, that was a lot more detailed and a lot longer winded than I probably needed to do, but this is like, while it's not difficult, there's just a lot of little things you have to know about the building phase. Alright, and then finally, once the construction phase is over, we go into aging. So any of your units that currently have a age token on it, and let's act like the hunter did. The hunter's been out here for a turn. So the first thing you do is any of the heroes that you have out here that have this token, they are discarded. They have retired, and they're no longer available to you for the next round. What you do now is you age each of your heroes, and then basically, unless you're able to do something next turn, they will also retire during the next round. And once you finish doing the aging, and if there's any abilities that are triggered by the aging, you fulfill those. But then you deal out 5 more cards to all players and repeat the same process. Remember, reversing the order of your draft in between each round until you've played a total of 4 rounds. Whoever has the most points after the 4 rounds is the winner. And your points will be based on whatever your points are on the score track, and any points awarded to you based on building. So like here's an extra 4 points because 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'd go over here and you'd advance yourself up 4 more spaces. And that is Paper Tales. Now, if you happen to play this as a 2-player game, there's 2 little minor changes. At the beginning of each round, instead of handing out 5 cards, both players are going to receive 9 cards. During this draft, you're going to keep a card, you're going to discard a card, and then you'll pass the remaining cards over. So you're always going to keep a card and discard a card. Now, once it gets to the last card sent around, you'll just keep that card. There's no card to discard, but you'll go from 9, 7, 5, 3, and then finally 1. That's really the only difference there. It's just so you have more options of cards to look through. Because smaller player count, you're going to see less of the cards come out. The other change is during war, obviously you can't look to both neighbors because there's only one neighbor. So the way it's going to work is if you tie or exceed the other player's strength, you're going to get a win, which is 3 points. But if you beat them by twice as much, your strength is double. You're going to get 2 wins, which is 6 points. And that's really the only difference. Otherwise, the game pretty much plays the same. You'll still draft, you'll still fight armies, you'll build your buildings, age your characters, repeat until you've played 4 full turns. And that's basically the game. There is an expansion. I'm coming blank on the name of it. It's something key. You can Google it. I'll put it in the notes. But it adds basically a more variety of cards as well. But yeah, Paper Tales is a really fun game. It was actually the first game I got to demo as part of the Envoy program, like 3 years ago, almost 2.5, 3 years ago. So I really like this game. So if it looks like it's something you'd be interested in, throughout March, I'm going to be demoing this one night a week, and I'll share the calendar where that's shown. All you need to have is Tabletop Simulator, which is $20, or $10 if you can find it on sale at some point, but I don't know if it'll go on sale. Maybe St. Patty's Day will have a sale. Steam does random sales. And then the mod itself is free, but when I'm hosting it, you'll just connect with me, and I'll walk you through the whole process if you've never used Tabletop Simulator before. But that is basically how it'll work. You'll sign up, you'll jump in, play the game with me and others, and see if you like the game. And if you do, keep playing the digital. Or if you like to have a physical copy of the game, go and support your local game shop or get it online if you don't have a game shop nearby. All right. Hopefully this was informative, and more than likely I will be doing another one of these streams tonight with another game or two. So I apologize in advance for anyone who keeps getting notifications about streaming. I'm demoing games all night, so if they don't fire off, I'm going to do this. So hopefully the next week I'll attract more people who may be interested in playing. So anyways, I'm Brian of WVGamers. Have a great evening.